All right, let's go ahead and get started. Folks can catch up and re watch the recording if they miss anything or come late. My name is Eric Winterville-Luz. I'm the project manager for the instructional scheduling assistant here on campus. I'm based out of BioSci and I work with a developer team and in partnership with the registrar's office and our ISA work group, which is made up of various folks from across the different schools. And I guess there's still one that's called a division across campus. And we work to enhance the ISA, although this year has been almost entirely focused on, excuse me, has been almost entirely focused on TSS remediation. And you saw our first release for remediation stuff back in November, if I remember correctly. We'll have another one coming sometime later this month to do the remaining items for your fall schedule. But today we're gathered to talk about the new to you features of submitting change requests through the ISA. Um, your current process, as I'm aware, as you are all are aware, is you get a notification from the registrar that the look has been released. Um, you then hop in and see what rooms you got, what your schedule looks like. You compare it to what you think your schedule should be or what your division or sorry, what your unit or department is looking for. And then you compile those changes or you send a bunch of emails, or you do a spreadsheet or you do some process that you and your colleagues have worked out for your specific department in order to get those requests into the registrar so that you can get the schedule classes finalized before it is released and available for the students or after if necessary. Um, Starting in summer of 2025, for the summer term, we have been piloting using the ISA to submit change requests. So we're going to go through the process to show you all how to do that because the plan and preference is that everyone be using the ISA to submit their change requests for the look that's going to be released tomorrow. For those of you who were here on Thursday, you know that we ran into some technical difficulties in our test environment. Some wires crossed. That's totally my fault, no one else's. Making sure that the test environment was in a stable state. The dev team has been great and worked with me to get all those issues resolved. And we got the last of them resolved end of the day, end of yesterday, and confirmed that things were good today, which allowed us to schedule this before the look was released, because that would have been pretty awful if there was no training available and you were all trying to figure out how to use the ISA. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and jump on in and I'm going to walk you through the process and show you some of the features and demo some of it within the ISA so that everyone knows how to use the functions and features. Another reminder is we have office hours. So myself, ISA devs will be on call, and the ISA work group who has been working with these features will be available for you for two-hour sessions tomorrow and another 2-hour session on Thursday. And we will add sessions if we find that there's a need. And just to make sure that you have as much support as possible when hopping in and using these new features. Um, so the first place that is going to be important for folks to do, and you can do this today, you do not have to wait until we enable access to the change request area. But the first place is the schedule differences. This was released a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's a way of seeing what the difference is between the schedule that as you have it presently in the ISA and what was released in the look. So it's doing a section by section, detail by detail comparison. So I prepped some test data here. This is our QA environment. So it's not real data. None of these things are actually going to be used in production and they don't impact any of the schedule. As you can see, I have already done a preview of the look from the test data. Um, and I'm just going to go through this really, really quickly since we've already had this available for folks for more than a year on just what we see here. So up front, up top, we've got A whole bunch of different filters. The ones that I really want to focus on are the view filter. So right now I'm only viewing differences, and you can see the different colored highlights. Yellow means that data exists in both the ISA and ISIS. Um, and that can be, which means there would be sections that exist on both sides. But here we can see there's a difference in enrollment limit. Here we can also see there's a difference in meeting location. Here are differences in instructor. Green means one of the two data sources does not have data. And in this case, we can see it's the whole section that's missing. So for this poly 11D A offering, whole section's missing. Here we can see that the section does exist on both sides, but there's no data on the ISIS side. The reason you don't see locations showing up that way is if there was a request for campus space. So if I go in here and I look at the section details, I go on my day and times, I look here. If that was flagged to yes, that is technically means that there is data in the location field. It's a request for campus space. We don't show it as a thing. We want to make it clear when something does not have space assigned to it yet. So we don't want there to be any confusion. So it's just shown as blank, but it's different than the double dash, which indicates that there is no data in that field in the data. So that's what all that means. As you can see, you can go in and quickly make changes to sections from this interface at a section level. Most of these icons, actually, in fact, all of these icons are going to be the same from what you see in the quarterly preview in the QSB. One important note is the change request process for cross-listed, conjoined, and co-scheduled classes is not done in the ISA. With ISIS, we don't have the ability to support that because we cannot guarantee that there is a one-to-one match um, section to section within the cross-enrolled grouping. So while you can still make edits to sections and all of that, and you can still use the ISA to see what the differences are, if you want to go and push those changes, so for example, here, there's a change in instructor, you will need to still send an email for, in this case, a cross-listed class. So bear that in mind, but pretty much every other change other than what wasn't listed in the email that the registrar sent out, I believe last week, or maybe it was right before break. I can't exactly remember when they sent it out. But all the other changes for the most part are done in the ISA. Other things I want to highlight here in the filters um, is the only show dual existing sections. This means that the section exists in both the ISA and ISIS. So here we go. Now that I'm showing it, you can see that that 11D offering went away. As soon as I unfilter it, you'll see that 11D comes back. The reason it goes away when I set this to yes is because it does not exist in ISIS. This is helpful for finding, both sections exist. I'm just dealing with an actual section detail. Only show missing ISA sections. So this is something where it exists in ISIS but does not exist in the ISA. There could be a number of reasons for this. Let's say you had originally scheduled it when you submitted it to the registrar, and then since then you realized, oh, we're not actually going to do this offering. And so, or this specific section in this case. And so that means that's going to be a change request you're going to need to make in order to remove that section from ISIS. And then only show missing upstream sections. This was saying TSS before. Upstream just means the system of record. So here we go. These are sections that exist in the ISA, but do not exist in ISIS. And it could be because, oh, when we submitted to the registrar initially, we weren't going to offer 11D, and then it was decided that we are going to offer 11D. And so that's why it exists in the ISA and it does not presently exist in ISIS. So that means that would be a change request in order to add this class. Same thing for 30D and 179 here. And then if it's useful, you can show the upstream. Ooh, that's a bug. We'll get that fixed. Sorry, that's ironic. It was working on this one was working on Thursday. It's not working today. We'll get it fixed. But it'll show you the ISIS section ID, or once we get to TSS, the TSS event ID. and it'll just show it in parentheses if it exists. But we must have broken something else when we made this fix and I missed it. But don't worry about that. It works in production. All right. So you get the look released, and now you want to start working. Now you want to start reconciling changes. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead, and the first thing you're going to want to do is to pull meeting locations. What that's going to do is that's going to use a set of logic that's been determined with the registrar and the ISA workgroup that means we can safely pull meeting locations. So that's this part here, or whole meetings in a case where I don't have a meeting. And I can actually, I'm actually going to create an example here quickly, um, just so we have an example there as well. Or it'll pull a whole meeting um, based on a set of rules that we have defined with these match cases here. I'm just going to put it up so it'll be in the recording. People can pause it on the screen, but I'm going to move forward because we have a lot to cover. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in my ISIS meetings. The reason we do this is we're asking for campus space. We want to have that campus space get pulled into the ISA so that we know that that's no longer a difference. So I'm going to do pull meeting locations. There we go. Didn't refresh. Go back and refresh this. Spring. Okay. Okay. The reason it didn't pull locations here was I think it actually worked. Wasn't paying attention. These are cross-listed. So again, these functions are not going to work for cross-listed, conjoined, or co-scheduled classes. Sorry, if I scroll down, it would have been obvious. You can also see that A01, where I removed the whole meeting, it pulled in the meeting from ISIS. That was one of the match cases, which you can look at in the recording to see what the logic is for those. So that's the very first step that you should do. That should be a safe action in all cases. If you happen to find a gap in our logic, when you take a look at the recording, please let us know. But that has been gone through a few iterations at this point, so it should be very, very, very safe. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go and find any places where you have missing sections, where you may want to take a look at whether or not you should be pulling in that section information from ISIS. So we're going to do this. Well, actually, before I do that, let's see, we can use some filters here. So let's say I want to only look at my missing upstream. So what this could mean is um, maybe during my initial schedule build, we were going to offer Poly 179. At some point, maybe I communicated with the registrar, or even further into this process, maybe you sent an email to the registrar to ask for 179 to be removed. It got removed. It's not going to remove it on the ISA side. That's only done by you or by these functions. So in this case, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to say, oh, well, I want to get rid of this class. Now we could do it through here. We could delete the class and that would work fine. But the ability to do it in bulk may be very helpful. So here I go. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to preview the data change. And here we go. It's telling me that this section is going to be deleted. I'm going to go ahead and click on sync data. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull in the empty class, which effectively is the same thing as a delete class from ISIS. So I'm going to do it. Sure it works. It says it works. 179 is gone. So there's that case. So that's the first thing I want to do. And then I can go and I can look at my missing ISA sections. So here we go. I've got a section that exists in ISIS, but not in the ISA. In this case, I'm going to say it's because, um, you know, I knew that I wanted to get rid of the class. So I'm not going to be able to process it this way. So if I were to go here, sync with upstream source, but if I wanted to re-add it, maybe I deleted it out of the ISA on accident. I want to pull the data back in from ISIS. I could do that. I'm not going to do that in this case. but that's why how that would work. The next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the noise. So that's all these bits of difference here that are individual section details that I know are what ISIS has is correct. So here we go. I'm going to sync ISIS data parts. Again, I can't do anything with cross-listed or conjoined. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to say, okay, um, should this, do I have the right instructor here? In this case, I'm going to say, yes, I have the right instructor. Here I'm going to look and like, oh, do I have the correct enrollment limits here? I know that this is a bit of a special case that I'm saving for later in the demo. So I'm going to say I'm not going to make any changes to my enrollment limits here. Um, Another case like this. I also know that this is a special case, so I'm going to hold off on this one. But here, let's say, yes, I know ISIS has the correct enrollment limit. And let's say here, I know that um, ISIS has the correct instructor. So I can just go through. I can't do anything on this one because it's cross-listed. Um, and let's say here, I know that what ISIS has is correct. Actually, here, know what ISIS has is, yeah, I'm gonna leave that one. And let's say here, I know what ISIS has is correct. So now I can do that. I can go back and preview my data changes. It's going to calculate what those changes are. It's going to tell us what it's doing. So it's going to say, I'm getting rid of the ISA value of 195 and I'm pushing in 179. I'm getting rid of the instructor, David Fisk, and I'm adding Tak Wong. And here I'm making this update. I'm going to execute those changes, and that's going to pull that data in from ISIS. And now those will be gone as differences. If you want to double check to make sure those changes actually happen, where this view filter is, you can click on View All, and that's going to show you everything, including sections here where there is no difference at all. So there's no differences, which is why these would all be hidden, and all these down here would be hidden. If there's still a difference, then it will show up. So once I've done that and I've gotten rid of all my noise, now I'm ready. I'm gonna stay in my view differences for now. I'm ready to actually go start making change requests. And you'll see there's 5 different structured change request types that we have. Um, the four that I'm going to recommend that you really try to think through, and we'll talk about logic around general change request after we go through these. Instructor change requests. That's just, is there a difference in an instructor? So what I can do is I can go to difference, and here we go. I'm just looking for diffs. So now I've filtered what I have to see if there's any diffs. And if I want to go make all my instructor change requests all at once, I can now go and be able to select this as an instructor change. 203B, academic level, instructor change request. Huh. What is it that doesn't allow me to select this? Let's see if I can do it this way. I just want to see what logic I'm running into here. Okay. So I'm gonna grab a screenshot of this really quick. Okay, something with the matching seems to still be broken. My apologies. We'll go back. Uh, okay, schedule differences. All right. Very least, normally you would select it, you'd submit it. I'm going to use a different type. Um, Let me go and do a daytime location. Or sorry, cancel. Okay. So instructor change request. If there's an instructor difference, you can submit it and it will pre-sort it for you. Daytime location, and this is only for department space in our class. Change request, same sort of thing. So if I wanted to do meeting location, I want to look at only department spaces and our class, we're including our class in that. Then what I can do is from this set, if I go and do a daytime location, you can see that it allows me to select the ones where that is the case. So it's not allowing me to select the items where there is, you'll see I don't have a checkbox next to this one because it's cross-listed. I don't have a checkbox next to either of these because there's no diff in the meeting time or meeting location, but I do have checkboxes next to these. So let's say in each of these cases, what I have is actually a change that I want to make. So I can select each of these individually. And I'm going to go to Start Change Request, and you can see it's preloaded my right-hand side here. It's selected date, time, and location. And it's allowing me to, and it's already has my sections listed here that I selected. I can go to next. Here's my preview. It's telling me this is the request I'm making. So I'm saying I want to get rid of this time and I want to put in this time instead. And here it's saying I want to not use this location. I want to use this location instead. Same thing. Get rid of this time and this location, replace it with this time and this location. So I'm going to submit that change request to the registrar. And now it is there. And now if I scroll down, we can see that each of these three that I created a request for, even though I sent it as one request, it's now showing there is one open request for each. And I can go and review what that request is here. I can see it was this, the request type is meetings. It tells me what sections. There's no description because there's no custom note for these pre-formatted types, who it was done, when it was done by, and then here I can click into view my change request, and this takes me into the interface of the individual change request where I can do things like say, oh, oops, I didn't mean to do that, and you can request to rescind that change request. I needed to do something else, or I needed to make one more change before I do this. It's going to give you things like status. It's going to give you the request ID. This is going to be really helpful. The other thing it's going to do, and give me just a moment. Which one am I looking at right now on screen? I'm looking at Poly 214. Okay. And this is 214. Let me switch up my share. It's going to send you a notification. It's also going to notify the registrar that they have that request, but it's going to tell you it's QA testing, which won't be there in production. It's saying I've submitted a change, gives all the information here, it gives including that request ID number. It's saying here's what term, when it was, what happened, who it was, and it says here, and it's going to give the details of that. So I'm removing one meeting effectively, and I'm adding in a new meeting, and that's what it's asking the registrar to do. Um, I'm going to do a quick give you the ability to see the list of notifications. Um, find the correct list. Okay, here we go. All right, so notifications. There's a number of different actions that you as a department scheduler will do, and these are the notifications, whether or not an email gets sent, who it gets sent to, including summer session specific items. I'm just having this on screen long enough for it to be easy to pause on the video recording, and then registrar actions. Same sort of thing. And then you saw an example, but you can see we have an email header. We have a number of email examples. So what it should look like for each type. I'm just going to make this pausable. And there we go. So we're going to hop back in so we don't spend too much time on that. So that's a basic meeting request. And this is what it will look like when you get into that interface. I'm going to hop here into the change request dashboard that you have where you can see all the requests that you have sent. So let's say I only want to look at spring 26. So I'm going to hide winter 26 up here. By default, everything is shown and will show things for one academic year. So current term or most recent term that a request has been submitted back one academic year. For most of you, of course, spring is going to be when you start, even though you will see this interface and you can technically do it for winter. If you are not part of the pilot, do not use this interface for anything before spring. Spring and forward should be the only terms that you use this interface for. And those who have been part of the pilot already know this. So I don't need to give them any additional instructions, but you can see each of those classes that I submitted a change request for creates an individual request. These IDs are shared across all of campus. So you may see, if you do this, do your first one, in the first hour and you come back 5 hours later and you do your second one, you're going to see a big jump in number because everyone else is also putting in the requests. That's for the sake of the registrar so they can see what order all the requests come in. It's also so that each one has a unique identifier for them. The way the grouping works for request ID and is each um, class, so not course, each class, each change type, and each submission. So even though this was a single submission, it created three individual change requests because it's three different classes. If I were to go and make another request, so let me go look at the ones that I made the changes on. So I'm gonna go back to schedule differences. I'm gonna go down here. Um, I'm gonna go create a, well, instructor changes aren't working in QA. Let me see, maybe I can get it to work. Go add a class instructor. Let's say Austin to this, add Austin. And while I'm at it, let's change primary really quickly to Austin. Um, so now this may not work in QA. So I'm going to do an instructor change request. Let's see if it's going to let me. It's not because the logic is broken. Okay. Well, I won't be able to do that, but it would allow me to do a instructor change at the same time as I do a meeting change.
Hey, Eric, there's a
Um,
question
Go for it.
in the chat.
Oh, there's a question in chat. Sorry. Okay. So if you're asking for campus space, you will not be using the daytime location request because this is only for department space R class. If you're going to request campus space, which is probably going to be the most frequent thing you're going to do, you're going to do a general change request. I really want to get through this individual request types before we hop into general. General is for everything that we don't have a specific set of logic built for yet. We know that campus-based requests are super common, but they're also not trivial in terms of the amount of complexity. We've determined there's probably 5 or 6 actual embedded request types within a campus space request. Space hunt, ranked times, um, like one, if thens, like if I can get this, do this first, do this second, do this third. There's a few others, but those are like the really
Room
obvious
swap.
ones. Yeah, room swap, right? So you have 2 rooms and you want to swap them. I have an example that I'm going to show when we get to it. So now so we've covered instructor change request. Sorry that I couldn't demo it for you. It is working in production. We covered daytime location when it's department space or R class. We're now going to hop into add section. So add section means it exists in the ISA, it does not exist in ISIS. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to go only missing upstream sections. So these are cases where I want to add a section. And in this case, I know that yes, I want to add both of these classes. It appears that this logic for what exists and does not exist is also not working. That section. All right. All right. Well, okay. I won't be able to demo that for you either. It's really straightforward. You select your sections. It'll create the group for you. You click next. It'll say, here's what you're doing. You're basically saying it'll show green for the things that you're adding, red for things that you're removing. So it'll only show green in this case. And then it will do it. Oh, I know why it's not allowing me to do it. It's okay. Actually, the logic is good. It won't allow me to add a section if I'm requesting campus space. And if we go and we look here, you can see I'm requesting campus space everywhere. So if I instead modify 30D to say I'm not requesting campus space, and let's say for now I don't know what space I'm going to use, so I'm just going to use the EPT as a placeholder. I can do that. Now when I go here, uh, section enrollment sums doesn't match for me. It's weird. Let me, oh my goodness. I need to go to view all. Cancel selection, turn this off. So 30D is what I want. Okay, sorry, I gotta look at this. Um, okay, I have to do this as an other request because I'm doing multiple things that are linked together here. I'm um yes and no. Let me fix this. Okay, so in ISIS land, you can go and you can update enrollment limits and everything's good. But in order to submit a change request for a section, the class has to validate correctly. So if I go into my quarterly preview and I look at Poly 30D, we can see that there's an error that says the section enrollment limits don't sum up. And that makes sense, right? Because these sum up to 225 and that says 224. So what I can do is I can go and I can fix this. I can save my details. And I could have done it from schedule differences as well. So I could have just done it directly from here and fixed it. So now that I've done that, I can now go, I put in all these traps for myself intentionally. I just forget about them. So now I can go, you can see it no longer shows the exclamation point telling me there's a validation error. And it did say what the validation error is in the hover text. Now I can click on it. I can go start my change request. You can see there it is, add sections. It's already added to the group. And do there. It's all green, telling me that it's adding. Green means add, red means remove. For those folks who use screen readers, um, add will have the asterisk and remove will have the strike through. So I'm going to submit that. There we go. If I scroll down, we can see now I have a request ID number 188. I'm the only one working in here, so it just iterated one up. Tells me the section, tells me what it is. If I hop in here, same sort of thing. It's going to give the details and it's going to say, here's what it looks like right now. ISA has it, ISIS does not. Apparently enrollment limit didn't come through. Um, all that information. If I need to rescind this to be like, oops, I don't want to add that section, I can still do it. That sends a request to the registrar, and then they can approve the rescind, which will allow you to interact with the section again, or send us another change request for the section.
Eric,
Okay.
can you talk about what happens if you want to make a change to a change request that hasn't been resolved yet?
Um, it will depend, but it will largely require you to first rescind. So if I go into my change requests and I look only at spring, um, so let's say the meeting requests that I made for Poly 282 A00, I actually decide we do not want to um, remove the time and location I had originally are what I want. So what I can do is I can click on this rescind to change request. You confirm that you want to do it. If you do that, you can see the status changes to rescind requested. If I go back to my requests, you can see that rescind is requested. I still couldn't submit another change request for meetings on this specific section. I would need to wait for the registrar to go through. You get to see a little bit of the sausage making here. Um, I would need to wait for them to go take a look, see that there is winter only, spring only. There's a rescind requested here. that would then allow them, they could either go batch edit and do it this way. They could do that and they could select that one and they could save it. And then they set it to rescinded by department. The reason there's a request to rescind rather than just rescind, you being able to rescind directly, is because if the registrar is in the middle of doing this request, they don't want to all of a sudden have something come in while they're working on one screen and, not looking at their email and then all of a sudden be like, okay, well, it's just a matter of making sure one thing happens, serially rather than in parallel because there's not the ability for them to click a button to push things into ISIS. I'm going to swap back out. I'm going to go back into political science. We're going to go back into schedule differences. Well, I can just go to change requests. And then we can see now it's rescinded by department. So I could go and make a different meeting request for this one. So, and I'm going to go back into schedule differences. We're going to scroll down. Remember exactly. View differences only. Sorry. So we can see one is rescinded by department, but I could now go make us different. So let's say we knew that we needed to change the space to something else. So now I can go and put in a new meeting request for this. That, select it, change request. There it is. Review change. Here's what's different. Submit it. All right. And if I go into my list of change requests, add winter, we can now see that there is a new one, this one here, 189. It's the exact same section, it's the exact same change type, but we don't allow you to open two of the same type. And there's some other rules which we go find it. Here we go. So these are the rules. Take a look at it when you get to the recording so you're able to review it. But yeah, so I made the change that we needed because, oh, this was the wrong location. So I rescinded it, went through the rescind process, and now it's available. Okay, last one is remove section. So now here I'm going to do only show missing ISA sections. So in this case, during initial schedule build, oh, this is actually going to be more complicated. Section, this one. Okay, yeah, this is correct. Okay, so here we go. So initially there were going to be 6 sections. We've changed it to only be 5 sections. In this case, I actually need, if you submit a remove request, and this is an important note, this has a location from campus. I think that's campus space. So if you submit this request and you just submit it as a remove request, this campus space now becomes available for assignment to anyone else. So if you want to use this campus space during this time, of course, for the same, relative enrollment, whatever capacity makes sense to assign to this space, instead of doing a remove section request, you should actually do an other request. I actually don't think I created any other remove request examples. So let me do one of those really quick. I'm going to create one really fast. So let's say this one, I'm going to delete the class. So let me delete that class. Now I can see that it shows as a diff. So now I'm going to do a remove section. So at least we can demo it. Oh, there we go. So this one is the only one I want to remove. Scroll back up, start change request. There we go. It's already preloaded into the right-hand side. There it is. It's all red with strike throughs. And here we can see an attestation that says, I've gone and set the enrollment limit to 0 in ISIS. And if it's after enrollment has started, I have gone and I've notified those students that this class is being canceled. Those are attestations, but you need to do it. So I'm going to submit that change request. And there we go. And it's in my list of change requests. There it is, right there, remove section. All right, so going back to schedule differences. So let's start talking about other. So other is every other case. So let's start with this one. So I know that I want to remove A06 because we're only going to do 5 discussion sections instead of 6. But I want this space for something else. I don't have an example here. I'm just going to fake it. So now what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go here and do general change request. And I'm going to go select A06 because that's one of the sections that matters here. And let's pretend that this section was at the same time, and the same capacity. This was, I know it's not, but we're just faking it here. Um, and I wanted to get my HSS 2154 used for this section for this other class. So I'm going to select both of these together. And now I'm going to go and I'm going to start my change request. And you'll see nothing is preloaded. And there's multiple groups that you can create. So I'm going to do another request. I'm going to drag both of my sections into this little drag section here area. Here we go. And I'm going to say, please cancel, whichever one, 13DA06. Please use this room for poly 12D, whatever. Oh, I don't see the section code here.
I have a question about this. If they aren't at the same time, can you also change the time for that section in this one-step process?
You could,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
So any sort of like multi-step, multi-change, you're gonna need to use other for. And this is
Perfect.
basically the same as sending an email. You put as much detail in here as you can. Um, and so that's one example. And I need to drop something.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So we'll fix the section code not showing up here. Apply 12E, blah, whatever it actually is. I'm going to review the change. It's going to say, here's your description. We know it's a change type, the sections that are involved, and it could be a lot of sections, right? Say you want to do musical rooms, for like 3 or 4 different sections that have similar capacities. You can do it. You just got to select everything and say, here's what I want to happen. So I'm going to go and submit this one. There we go. And we can see that both this has shows as one open. A06 should show as one open. Oh, there we go. Sorry. This A09 shows as one open. And these are actually together as a single request. So if I go into my change requests, you can see plus more, and we can see these are the 2 classes that were involved. It's another type. Sorry, I'm totally looking at the wrong thing. Here we go. These are the right sections now. That didn't look like what I had selected. Other type, I'm going to go in here. We can see the data. We can see what I've done. We can see the section details for each class or each section that's been added. And then there's that. Now let's say I've sent this and the registrar needs more info. Do that really fast. So they're going to go add a new comment. They're going to say requesting info. Something like that. I mean, they're going to do this in a, more professional way than I am right now. So we're gonna do that. It's set to requesting info. If I hop back in to PoliSci, and I go to change requests, and I shows there, we can see status is back to requesting info. There are column filters here that you can do. I also just received an email. Okay, let me share it. Also just received an email about this. And that email goes to the list of people that are on that quick view that I showed you. You're going to want to take a look at that. Swap back. And then you can request. And then the back and forth is all shown here. This is confusing because I'm doing it on both sides, but you'll have different names and all of that for who's doing what, who said what, when they said it. And that's just a quick way. So now I can say, yes, please do that, whatever. Save the comment, see. Voice that should have changed the status. Oh, okay. All right. So that will change the status back to open. It lets the registrar know that they've received a comment, a reply for them to then take action on it again. If it just sits there and requesting info and you don't ever reply, so then it'll just sit there unresolved. Another case. So let's say the most common case, a space hunt. So let's say I want to add. So I'm doing a space hunt. I need campus space for all of Poly 11D. So because I'm asking for campus space, I can't just use the normal add section. If I was using department space, I could add that class really easily. But instead, I have to do general. I'm going to select all of Poly 11D. Okay. Start change request. And then I'm going to do other. And then there's a quick assign mode that I find to be really quick, really helpful when I'm doing a lot of sections. I can just, based on whichever batch I'm working on, and right now there's only one batch. But let's say I wanted to do two different batches because maybe for A00, which you can't see the code, but for A00, I want that to be in batch one, and all the rest I want to be in batch two for some reason. And there's reasons why you might want to do this, but I'm actually going to undo that because that's just going to make things confusing for training. So I'm going to add all of them. Okay. I think everything is there. Just a sec. We're gonna just double check this. I'm gonna say blah 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 space hunt. I'm gonna say, if you can get me these times, great, but if not, here's other times that would work for me. And you might want to give a list of times or a range of times. So, for A00, I want this. For, A01, I want this. For A02, I want this. And just give your range. You're gonna put all that detail here. And you're going to do that. You're going to submit it. I'm really curious. I think I found a bug that we had tested. Okay, cool. It didn't work, which is probably better until we fix the bug. So let me go redo that. Just to make sure. Okay, yeah, it did not submit. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna redo this. Um, sorry, I can't demo the quick assign mode right now. It's working in production. Start change request. Quick assign mode off. Do other and drag my sections in. Okay, there we go. Starting to do all the details that you would do, that you would need to do in order to get this in. We're going to assume that I did that. Here we go. It's going to say, here's what it is. Here's all the details for the info. Submit it. Now the registrar can take action on that. Go to change requests. Here we go. There it is. You can see the whole list of sections that are there. Take a look at it. Now we can go look at the individual section details for everyone up at the top. Or you can show all and show the whole list of details. There's no ISIS section ID in this case because the sections do not yet live in ISIS. I should actually probably show what that looks like on a different one. So here we go. I've got two sections here. I think one of these has an ISIS section ID, which is also not showing. All right, so we'll get those showing. They are showing in production. Okay, lots of cases why you would use other. Again, and let's say conjoin co-scheduled, you can't use this interface at all. And the reason for that is we cannot guarantee that the link for Poly5D 800 does actually link to Econ 5 800. So we'd have to infer and assume that everything links properly, but because it's a human process right now instead of a programmatic process, we don't feel confident that we won't end up in some weird corrupted data state if there was a human error during the manual connecting of sections to each other, which has to be done right now in ISIS. TSS, we'll be able to do it because we can read the grouping and assign the grouping directly, but we don't have the ability to do that on the ISIS side. So hopefully, if not by fall, sometime in the 26-27 year, we'll be able to support cross-listed and conjoined at the very least. Co-scheduled is a whole nother fun bag of worms. So yeah, so you go through that. You keep an eye on your emails to let you know that something has happened. You hop into the ISA, you respond to those things. You do that until you see those differences eventually go away. Or that any of the differences that are still there are things that you're fine with, like basically just say, okay, yeah, what's in ISIS is fine. At which point you may just want to sync, you know, pull the data parts like we talked about, like pull in the instructor, pull in the location, or pull in the enrollment limit or whatever MISIS, just until you get a clean view here and your list of differences basically gets down to 0. Let me take a look at chat. Yeah, get an email. Yep, yep, yep. Thank you for answering questions, Helen and Monica along the way. And Matt as well. Okay, so questions. Anything you want me to try to demo in 4 minutes, or anything you'd like me to try to cover? And I can stay later for folks who are able to stay.
There's another question in the chat.
Perfect. Yes. So I showed this. I'd have to go find which page this is on, not that one. Not that one. Must have been this one. So here is the list of email notifications that folks will get may not actually be helpful to based on who is doing what action and who will receive those emails. So again, don't try to read it all right now. Take a look at the video once it's posted so you can read all of this. Um, but this was decided on. It's going to be very chatty. I can assure you of that. If you look at the number of people who get an email on the department's side, so the user who puts in the request, if you have a registrar contact email for your unit that is different than the user, if it happens to be summer session, which we'll get to when the summer session look is released, then if you have a separate summer session contact email for your unit, they will also get it if it happens to be a case that matters. Summer session will get it in certain cases, and the registrar will also, for now, get an email. So it's a lot. And potentially, the three that will matter to you, especially in summer session, is you could potentially get three different emails if you have your personal email, because that's what your ISA user account is tied to, your unit contact email, which is usually a general email, perhaps your summer session contact email in the ISA, which may be a different email. So potentially three different addresses can get an email. The preference within the work group was let's keep it chatty and then we can turn it down over time, or maybe when we have developer time available, once TSS remediation is done, and if it gets prioritized, allow individual units to tune the chattiness. Um, but yes, make use of those email filters. Um, you know, I mean, I can if we look at my if we look at my email since I have just been doing this testing, all of these are ISA system notifications that I've received here. You can see just in the testing I've done. Now, admittedly, I'm also getting the registrar emails in this case because in the QA environment I function as a registrar user as well. So I'm in some cases I'm getting double notification, but it's a lot. We put in like 5 change requests and I have 15 emails. Matt, go ahead.
I was just gonna say too, I think she's also asking about what it looks like on the dashboard.
Oh, yes.
Like the communication piece there, because it does display a little bit differently and yeah. And you can hop into my production if you want to as well.
Sure. Yeah, we can hop in there. So Matt's been doing part of the pilot from the beginning. Let's go biological sciences. We're going to go to change requests. So this is just winter 26. And we can see we have a done status for most of this, rescinded by department. Matt has been busy in winter, as you can see. But these are all the things that he put in. Most of them are other. Or a solid half of them are other. So 90. So let's look at other. 63. So yeah, 2/3 of his requests are other types. And that is just going to be the nature of things for now. Looks like he did no remove sections over the course of winter. As we continue, with the assumption that there's going to be continued support from the EVC or ITS to continue developing the ISA, these other types will shrink and we'll be building more bespoke, like this is a process, like I want to do a space hunt. I want to do a space hunt based on rank times, or I want to do a space hunt based on nearness of locations to each other, or based on room attributes. We have a whole big list of change types that we have identified as like helpful user cases, right? 11 top level categories, and then they break down even more, capacity ranges. So that, the ones that are in purple were identified as these would be the most helpful things to add. So campus space rank times, campus space capacity range, and then direct swap one space for another. And then dependencies was sort of the next one, which is an if then, or if then do this first, do this second, do this third. Because some things require something to be done first, then second, then third. So yeah, there's a number of things that have been identified. So we hope that we have developer continued funding to develop the application beyond the TSS remediation.
Hey, Eric, sorry. I think what I was referring to as well was actually clicking on one of the
Oh, of course.
like if you want to click on 991, request ID 911, that way folks can see the actual, we have some comments in there and they can see my initial request along with all the, the communication that kind of went through it, how it all, transpired through the ISA, not in an email.
Yeah. So this back and forth works together, and then once it's done, you'll see that they will drop the details out of ISIS into the note. And this also gets included in the email. The way the subjects are done for these emails, it will thread if you use threaded view. So if I don't have a good example here. But yeah, because of how this is done, these will thread together. They'll have the same subject, so that way things will group together properly. So that hopefully will make things a little bit easier to follow, because it'll group by request ID. All right. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to stay on. Otherwise, we can call it, and the recording will get up as soon as possible. Awesome. Take care, everyone.